First, anyone who's had the awful job of sorting out the affairs of a loved one after they die will know just how emotionally tough that can be, especially when it comes to things like settling their final bills or closing their accounts.
So when you come across a company that really does make it easier for you, it can feel like a huge weight has been lifted. But as the people in our next film discovered, when a company gets it wrong, it can feel doubly upsetting.
I love my mum. I spent a lot of time with her in the last 3 years since my dad died.
Lavinia Long from Bromley lost her mum, Barbara, in June 2022.
I took her to lovely places. She came down here to stay with us. We celebrated my 60th birthday together, which was lovely.
After Barbara died, Lavinia began the emotionally grueling job of sorting out her mum's affairs. And that included closing down her energy account with Scottish Power. Now, like many firms, it has a dedicated bereavement team that should be well versed in how to effectively and sensitively close down the accounts of the deceased.
I spoke to the bereavement team and he was very sympathetic and said that mum was in credit of £641.55 and that would be reimbursed to me. And I thought that would be it.
Instead came a letter congratulating Lavinia on her recent home move. Well, of course, Lavinia hadn't moved at all. Her mum's old Scottish Power account had been reassigned to Lavinia. Now, that letter hurt.
I was completely grief-stricken, the fact that somebody could send me, who has just lost their mum, a letter saying, welcome to your new home. I couldn't believe it.
And then in September, another error. A cheque arrived to reimburse the £641 credit on Barbara's account, but it was made out to Barbara.
I don't understand why they would address a letter to me and then not give me the cheque, but payable to my mum, who's dead, and the account is closed.
Resolving all of this became far more of an ordeal than Lavinia ever expected.
I had to send them a death certificate, then I had to do my passport, and then I had to prove my address. I found it all pretty horrendous, to be quite honest with you.
Lavinia was in the process of selling her mum's house, and even though it stood empty, a small energy bill still had to be paid to Scottish Power. Before she paid up, though, Lavinia wanted the energy company to issue the refund cheque correctly. However, a further 2 cheques were sent and made out to Barbara. And in the meantime, Lavinia was slapped with a late payment penalty.
I was stressed, I was distraught, could not believe that after all the phone calls, emails, sending all the documentation that they required, they still give me the same cheque.
Despite her repeated calls to Scottish Power and the fact that the refund cheque just couldn't be cashed, the firm then instructed debt collectors to pursue Lavinia. She turned to the Energy Ombudsman for help. It instructed Scottish Power to reimburse the credit on the account, pay £200 compensation as a gesture of goodwill, and write a letter of apology. But I'm afraid 3 months on, Lavinia has had none of those things and no suggestion of a sensitivity expected from Scottish Power's bereavement team.
Every day, it was relentless. Scottish Power would call me, demanding that I pay. It was beyond my comprehension of how they could treat somebody who was grieving the loss of their mum, who was trying to get back the credit, and they would still keep going on. And I explained it, and I just lost my understanding of how Scottish Power could treat a human being like that.
Every energy company should have a bereavement team. And in the eyes of the energy industry trade body, Energy UK, they are there to help alleviate stress and anxiety. But sadly, Lavinia's not the only person who says Scottish Power was the cause of stress and anxiety. In December 2022, Steve Quinn from Liverpool lost his father-in-law, Joe, and then just 3 months later, his sister-in-law, Linda, as well. The double loss hit everybody really hard.
At the time, it came as a great shock. This really pulled the rug out from under my wife. Julie took the passing of both Linda and Joe quite badly at times. A lot of heartache.
Steve stepped in to help sort out Joe and Linda's affairs, and that included closing their energy account with Scottish Power. The final balance showed an outstanding bill of £136 for gas, but a credit of more than £1,400 for electricity. Steve wanted Scottish Power to deduct the gas bill from the credit and pay back the rest. Instead, the firm's next move left the whole family reeling. A letter arrived from a law firm acting on behalf of the energy company.
It reads, "We received notification from our client, Scottish Power, that Mrs. Julie Davis had sadly passed away. Please accept our sincere condolences." This was extremely upsetting for my wife, Julie, to then have such a massive error.
Steve complained to Scottish Power about the letter and says that during his dealings with the company, he never received the compassionate and sensitive treatment that energy companies should provide. As the anniversary of Joe's death approaches, Steve is still battling to get the bills sorted, the credit balance repaid, and the whole sorry mess sorted out once and for all.
I'm angry. I'm dumbfounded. I don't feel that the bereavement team are there to help you along the way. It's a constant need to recap and go through the whole story of where you're up to again with a different operator.
Well, Scottish Power told us that it was very sorry for both Steve and Lavinia's experiences at what was an already difficult time. And it stressed that this was not the standard of customer service that it works to deliver.
Scottish Power said that the problems Steve's family experienced were caused by a technical issue with the electricity meter. Once that was resolved, the firm says it brought the account up to date, refunded the credit balance and reversed a late payment fee.
As for Lavinia's case, Scottish Power says it has implemented all of the Ombudsman's findings in full and once again refunded the credit balance and reversed all late payment fees. Now, both families have also been sent written apologies and a gesture of goodwill in recognition of the shortfall in customer service.
Well, I must say I was rather touched by some of those sad situations, but I'm now joined by consumer rights journalist and presenter of Radio 4's Money Box Live. That's Felicity Hannah. But Felicity, both those cases, in fact, were with Scottish Power. And I just wonder, what should all energy companies be doing in these situations?
Well, it might surprise people to know that there are no specific bereavement rules governing how the energy companies behave, but there is best practice, and Energy UK, which represents them, has examples of good practice. So conveying how those staff ought to communicate so that the tone is appropriate, that's really important. And perhaps the most important part of this is to assess the customer's vulnerabilities now. So if they're reporting that their partner has died, for example, are they going to have trouble paying their energy bill in the future? Or if their partner has died and left them with energy debt, do they need extra care? Those are all things these energy firms should be looking at.
How much do companies concentrate on training staff?
I think that over recent years it has improved, but as we've seen, it can still go wrong. But I think a lot of staff now are told how to deal with bereaved people. And for me, a lot of that is the call centre person taking ownership of the problem, not making the bereaved person have to explain their story over and over again every time they speak to somebody new, because they don't have the energy for that.
Now, we spoke to Energy UK, which represents the energy industry, and it told us that suppliers' websites all outline the processes they have. They're all in place for handling bereavement cases, and that suppliers do offer training for call centre staff on how to best handle them, as well as offering support for the staff themselves. So, Felicity, if you are unfortunate enough to be dealing with the affairs of a loved one, it can be a very hard time, but just emphasise to me the things that can help.
Nothing can make it easy, but there are some things that do make it easier now, and Tell Us Once is one of them. So that's a government service. Tell Us Once, you go online or you let them know that somebody has died, and they will then inform HMRC, the Department for Work and Pensions, the Passport Office, the DVLA, your local council. I should make the point, though, it's not currently available in Northern Ireland, but within the rest of the UK, it's a fantastic service to use.
And they will contact all those people.
They
on
will
your
make sure
behalf.
that all those government bodies understand that the person on their list has died. And then there is a commercial company that offers a similar service. There's a company called Settled, which is a free service. It tells 950 different companies about a death once you've notified them. And that's social media companies, credit card firms, banks, energy firms, lots of different companies.
I think that's amazing. 950
Yes.
companies or outlets or whatever it is. But we put links to all that advice on our website. It's bbc.co.uk/RipOff Britain. And if you've had dealings with a company's bereavement team and they either really helped or just made it a very tough time for you, please do let us know. We are RipOff Britain at bbc.co.uk. Felicity, thank you.
Thanks.